All right, so we've been talking a lot about them, maybe for the first time, the Mountain West Conference Volleyball Championship. And there's a obvious reason to it. It's because one of the teams, San Jose State University, does have a transgender player on the team. And this is the conference championship right now. And what happened throughout the regular season is that many teams forfeited their games because they didn't want to play against this one particular transgender individual. So they took a stand and said, we're not going to play, which means that San Jose State won the game. So much so that they entered the conference championship with a first week bye, which really helped them out. And then the second game, the Boise State, I believe it was, forfeited the match. And now they're sailing through to the final tomorrow. So how about that? What's going to happen with that game? We don't know. But if that team ultimately forfeits, then that means that San Jose State wins.
Here's the problem. It doesn't recognize, first of all, the danger. I think people may not remember. There was a circumstance where a transgender player was playing and I think spiked the ball and really hurt a girl. I believe it may have been a high school level. But my point for the story is simply this. It is inherently unfair. They know it. And I applaud the young women who are standing in solidarity and saying this is a slippery slope. If we're going to do co-ed, and then that's one thing. But if you're going to have different players, what happens? Let me just ask it this way. What happens if the next time or the next year there are 6 transgender players on that team? How do you think they'll do it? We're going to have 6 transgender basketball players on a team. Now you really begin to tip the balance of competition, and I think that's what the players are saying as they step aside and forfeit these contests.
Yeah, and a lot of people are coming out with opinions on this. Yesterday we covered the Washington Post article that I think was atrocious. Today we've got this quote from Nancy Armour. She wrote an op-ed in the USA Today. She says, "For all the shrieking there is about transgender women athletes, is the cisgender women, it's the cisgender women pushing the forfeits who cost their fellow athletes opportunities to play and saddled their teams with losses. It's those women, not the San Jose State player, who are the real threat." Wow. This is called gaslighting. The Washington Post article yesterday was just as bad, if not worse. And what they're doing is they're blaming the women who have the courage to stand up and saying that they are essentially the culprit or they're the problem here, as you just heard. I think it's really important. I feel bad even for the girls playing on the San Jose State team, because if they, their entire college career in playing volleyball is going to be dominated by this. Anything they accomplish will have an asterisk. And it's tough because women did fight to have some sort of opportunity in sports. Title IX is a thing because someone brought it up and advocated for it. And what's really ironic about this is the majority of these pushing back are pushing back even against the sentiment of Title IX, saying that women as a gender don't deserve their own place in sports.
Yeah, it's so true. And this woman who wrote the op-ed said that the cisgender, meaning that the straight women, are pushing the forfeits who cost their fellow athletes opportunities. What's really happening is that the teams are coming together and they're making the collective decision. And saying, you know what, sometimes for the future of our sport, it's not about winning this individual tournament. It's about making that sacrifice for fairness down the road.
That's right.
So they're standing up, but I think it's really a selfless act to do that and forfeit. And I don't know how San Jose State as a team will feel if they win by not ever really playing.
Right.
So at some point, I think that individual player that this controversy is surrounded by needs to think about what brought them to this point.
That is the key for me, too. You said the perfect word, fairness. It is inherently unfair to tip the scales in one direction over another, because as I pointed out, if there's 6 or 5 on the court, and they're jumping out of the gym, people say, oh, Kevin, you're taking it a bridge too far. This is one individual player. She deserves the opportunity to compete. Good. Go compete. Do what you want to do. But understand that you, as an individual player, are making an impact not just on all the players around you who are on that team for San Jose State, but you're impacting the opportunities and the careers, perhaps, of the other young women who are going to try to get into this tournament.
And it's not just what happens on the court of volleyball. A lot of the young girls who have come out and spoken out against this say, listen, we have to go into that locker room. And as far as they are concerned, that's a male.
That's right.
And going into that locker room with a male to be in their most vulnerable moments, undressing or what have you, is incredibly uncomfortable, if not scary to them. They're not bad people. They're not bigots for feeling that way. It's a very visceral and human reaction, and I think it should be respected. And I think that this is all part of this tide that's coming back towards common sense.
Yeah. I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.